Today we'll see 10 fantasy books that have such incredible worlds that are filled with amazing creatures and that in essence are the perfect escape worlds, starting with Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. It's fun, lighthearted, and it's told under the point of view of Hoyt. So as you can expect, things get whimsy and hilarious, and it's a little bit of a twist from The Princess Bride, as our main character will need to go and save her love. And in this quest, she will be accompanied by this rat that will follow, that talks, that it's also very witty, and you will get this amazing magic. In this world, you'll find these incredible different seas, and each of them represents a different wonder and danger. If they get wet, incredible monsters will rise from the waters, and it is just a great quest. It is a completely different world, and I assure you, a great escape if you want something that is fun and lighthearted. Keeping the fun and lighthearted themes but blending it with a somewhat darker world, we have Nettle Bone, which is a standalone by T. Kingfisher. I really love this story, not only because it is really short, but because our main character is a misfit and she doesn't really believe herself to be someone of interest, and she will be thrown in this quest of saving her sister, stopping a war. She will have this animal companion that is made of bones. He is a dog of a sort, and I thought that element was so great, and it's a world full of fairy tale and slight drama, but lots of fun. And we will continue with Godkiller, which is a new release of this year, and this is a complete different world that it's fascinating because in here gods live and they are blended with the humans, and you not know really what to think about them. There's this really tense dynamic between humans and gods, and they are powerful and dangerous, and there's this almost animal companion which is a god in itself, and it is so different. The pace, it is frantic, and it's impossible to relax with this story, but you will be thrown into the politics, into following these different characters. There are different perspectives here, and overall at its core it's a story that will try to solve why one of these characters is being followed by this little god of the white lies and how she can get rid of these. But if you want the ultimate world, something that it's beautiful, that it has a unique magic system with a sentient sword, and that will in essence get you to another place, we have Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. This is a multiple perspective story that starts with the premise of these two sisters following a different path to what was expected of them, and one of the sisters will need to go and marry this godlike emperor in this world where magic is based on breaths. People can accumulate them, and if you are very powerful, you can have all of these breaths and you can change reality a bit and you see colors. It is beautifully done, and we will have a blend of religious, of politics, of romance. We will have a light tone here, but also very emotional situations that at times make me tear up. And even if you're not used to read tons of fantasy, I think that this is very accessible, and the idea of having a sentient sword that always want to kill, it was so fascinating. And even if it is not an animal companion, it is one of my favorite creatures of all fantasy books. And another story that completely stole my heart and made me forget and get lost in the world, it's Foundryside, mainly because the sentient key that we will see here, who is hilarious, and it has such a core role in this story that it's a heist at its core. And in here we'll have a hard magic system where people has discovered that they are able to inscribe objects, and therefore they can command these objects to perform actions, such as we can inscribe a door and this door will never get open, or you can inscribe a wheel and this wheel will move. It is fascinating, and there's this amazing blend of fantasy and sci-fi. There are different characters, all of them are unique, are misfits. There's banter, there's family found vibes, and it's a world that really reminded me to the Arcane TV series. And so there's this blend of technology plus magic, fantasy at its peak, which gets me into a trilogy that it's perfect if you want your stories to have a little bit of a blend also of sci-fi. And we have the Winnowing Flame with the first book, Ninth Reign. In here, you wouldn't only have an amazing story that it's full of unforgettable characters, different species, races in this world, a puzzle that's massive because a war is coming and they don't know how to fight it, they don't know who is the enemy. But we have moody creatures to which they are able to bond. And I think this makes for the perfect fantasy books to get lost, because the world, it's so different and you will need to really exercise your brain in order to understand and to puzzle whatever happens, especially in first book. You will be surprised. There are some really hard moments, gray characters, and overall a story that you won't be able to forget. And talking about stories that I wasn't able to forget, let's get His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. This is the first story that I read with an animal companion that had such a key role, and I was so in love with this story just because of that. It is a portal fantasy and will have these magical creatures that you're able to bond with, and they can shapeshift into different animals. This story, it's fascinating. It is very adventurous. It manages to create a story that feels really magical, with creatures that are very unique, with children in danger, a mystery at its core. It is irresistible. And before we get to dragons, let's have another great standalone, which is The Legend of Black Jack. This is adventure at its finest, perfect for lovers of Jumanji, and it has different animal companions. In here we will have a talking rhino, as in a real rhino, and we'll have this great portal fantasy where this child will need to face this world where there's an emerging evil that needs to be stopped, and he is the only one able to do so. But he will need to learn how to manage magic, how to move in this world. There are incredible moments of sadness, of joy, of adventure. It is very Indiana Jones-like, and I wasn't able to put this down. The pacing, it's frantic, and this world, it's so vivid, wild and alive that you won't be able to stop reading. And let's conclude this list with two recommendations that have as main elements dragons. The first one of my favorites, the Aurelian Cycle. This is so good. It is fascinating. It is the aftermath of a revolution and how this society needed to redo everything, and dragons here were previously only wielded by the higher level of the society, but they are now open to everyone. So there's trials that need to be had in order to see who will command this fleet of dragons. There's a revolution that might be emerging. There is great politics, amazing friends to something in here, and the dragons here are so very well crafted. They feel as proper characters. They are not only moody but mature. They are perfect, and I love this story beginning to end. It is a world that you won't be able to forget, nor these dragons. And because the momentum of this book, it is amazing, and it's probably one of the highest rated books currently on Goodreads, with a 4.70 with more than 70,000 ratings, and 3 weeks ago it only had 6,000 ratings. We have Fourth Wing. In my opinion, it's not as strong as the Aurelian Cycle, but I acknowledge there is stuff that it's very well done and that it's very engaging read. Yes, we will have different dragons. Dragons here are also incredible characters, and we'll also have this military academic setting where we will have these different trials in order to understand who bonds with the dragons, who not. There is a romance also at its core in this story, a war that it's emerging, and this is really very engaging. There are some parts that were slightly predictable, but this is getting very hyped, and to me this will become the next A Court of Thorns and Roses. This story, it's here to stay. So if you like dragons, you like trials, you like romance, you won't be able to stop yourself in enjoying this read, who has really stolen the heart of both romance and fantasy readers alike. And let me know down below which books you believe are perfect to get lost into them, to escape into them, either because the worlds or the animal companions, magical creatures. Just let me know. I cannot wait to see your thoughts. Bye.